Hey everybody, Nathan Lyle here with the Anime Corner for the Winter 2015 simulcast, and right now we're doing period anime, which is just any anime that takes place in a time period before like modern technology like cell phones and cars and all that other stuff. So you've got people using swords and riding horses and stuff like that. And so the first one, continuing from a previous simulcast, you got honoo no Kokuin, Garo The Animation, and that one's on Funimation. And for me personally, like, it's still hard to necessarily recommend it, but it does continually get better as it progresses. From episode to episode, it was hard to get invested at first, but eventually it did reach a point where it kind of starts to plateau, and I'm like, by that point I was like more invested. It's got good characters and you get to see them grow and mature, and like I always appreciate when a storyline actually does that, because it seems to be coming rare in different forms of media entertainment and stuff. But whatever, anyways, that's a whole nother conversation to be had. But anyways, Garo, yeah, it's a great anime. It's got a good storyline. It's got some good twists and turns here and there. It's got great action sequences. The action, like, it might be one of the best parts of it. And like I said, interesting characters, interesting story. It might be worth the watch. And then the next one, Sengoku Musou, Samurai Warriors. This one I found on Crunchyroll and Funimation. And it's hard to recommend it just because I did not personally enjoy it per se. That being said, it's actually a very great anime, very well put together, very well drawn, some great action sequences, and some good characters. It's an interesting storyline, but it's one you have to pay attention to. And for me, just because of like when it comes on during the week, and where it's all placed and whatnot, it's by the time I get to it, I'm just kind of tired of trying, and it's just like I watched this entire thing very passively, and I don't really remember half of the shit that happened. Like, I don't really get I kind of get the gist of what's going on. It's talking about the final battles of the Warring States period, and a lot of it seems to be centered on, these two brothers. They grew up together, but they end up on opposite sides of the war, fighting against each other. And it's, like I said, it's an interesting storyline, but you have to actually pay attention to it to like really get the full effect. And so for me, it just, at the time, I watched it passively, and like I don't feel like I got the full enjoyment of it. So like, but I do feel like it's one that I'm gonna have to go through and look at again to like really fully understand what it was that I saw. But like, I'm willing to go see it again. It's good enough. It's very, like I said, it's very interesting in multiple ways. It was one that I did enjoy. And so now we're moving on to Junketsu no Maria the Virgin Witch on Funimation, and it's a great show. One of the biggest issues that I had with the show kind of sort of got answered in the show itself. Why am I doing that? Shit. Anyways, you've got, so yeah, it's a very funny show about a witch, who lives in like France during the war with England. She doesn't like fighting, and the angels tell her like, oh, you can't interfere with human affairs and blah blah blah. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Great characters, interesting storyline, really funny at times. There are some moments where it kind of gets real, but overall, it's a really great show, one that I enjoyed. Next, we move on to Atsuki no Yona of the Dawn, and this one, it keeps getting better. It just keeps getting better. It's an interesting storyline. Like, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm just gonna warn you, it can take a while for it to really develop per se. Like, from episode 1, they show you enough, like episode 1 and 2, just to tease you on what the story could grow into. Then it kind of slows down a little bit, then it picks up, and it slows down. It's like, it's a very up and down anime. It's got cliffs and falls, but it's a very enjoyable storyline, which for me is the most important part. It's got a really great storyline, great characters, and it keeps introducing new characters, who make the story better. But like, introducing these new characters is actually part of the storyline of the anime. So like, a lot of times, sometimes you start having too many characters, And when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, you know, one of them ends up being a psychopath and murdering the rest of the cooks. Too many cooks, too many cooks. Anyways, that's the end of this segment. So, top 3, well, there's only 4, so, I mean, for me, 1 is definitely Yona of the Dawn, and then Maria the Virgin Witch at number 2. And like, I'll put Garo at 3, but the only reason Samurai Warriors is number 4 is because, first of all, I really loved the other 3, and second of all, even more importantly, like I said, I watched it passively. I didn't really get the full effect of the story. Like, I didn't get a chance to really become invested in these characters and what was happening with them. So yeah, that's it for this video. Be sure to check out the other videos on this playlist.